Hi, I'm Tana, and this is interview practice, so I'll be answering some questions. Number one, what does the CRISP DM methodology for data mining entail? What does the data analyst do in each step? So CRISP DM is just one way you can mine data, and it breaks the process down into 6 phases. So first is business understanding, which basically defines the business goals so that you can tailor your business, your data mining project to achieve those goals. And then second is data understanding, which involves gathering the data and exploring the data. So this is where you can check for quality issues, calculate descriptive statistics, and begin documenting everything that you're doing with the data, maybe noting bias or things you want to check further down the line. And then data preparation is the third step, so that's just cleaning your data and getting it ready for analysis. Fourth step is modeling, so this is when you decide which model to apply to the data set, and the output generated by the model will be tested by other analysts to assess its accuracy. Fourth step is evaluation, so once the model is approved, then it'll be assessed to see whether it meets the business goals or if it needs further testing. And if it is approved for use, then finally it'll be deployed, and it's then the data analyst's job to continue monitoring that model and documenting its performance so you can keep the model as accurate as possible. Question 2, explain what needs to be done before you can forecast time series. In other words, what does the time series analysis involve? So when forecasting time series, you definitely want to make sure that your forecasting model is as accurate as possible. So before you even choose a forecasting model, you should visualize your time series data just to see what it looks like so that you can check it for things like stationarity, check if there's autocorrelation, check if there's seasonality in the data. If your data is volatile, maybe you want to use like a smoothing technique, like a moving average, just to smooth out some day-to-day volatility so that you can start to identify some overarching trends in your data. And then based on your visuals, based on everything you just found, then you can apply the appropriate forecasting model. Question 3, discuss the main principles of data ethics as well as what companies or organizations could do to uphold these principles. So data ethics basically outlines how to responsibly use data and ensure that it's collected in accordance to laws and regulations. The main principles are privacy, transparency, accountability, and equality. And some things companies could do to uphold these principles would be to ask for consent before collecting and sharing any client information. They should provide transparency in their data collection methods. Because they're the ones collecting your data and storing your data, they should be responsible for prioritizing the safeguard of your data by safeguarding your data, and be held responsible if that data gets into the wrong hands. And one of the most important things that companies should do to uphold equality is to mitigate as much bias as they can in the processing of their data, in their collection methods, because otherwise it could lead to discriminatory practices or further employing stereotypes, which we don't want. Question 4, imagine you're an analyst at a financial services company and you have some concerns about bias in the way a predictive model was measured. How would you raise your concerns with your manager? Make some suggestions for how to avoid measurement bias in the future. So if I had concerns about bias in a model, I would document my findings of any bias and provide supporting evidence of my findings. And I would then schedule a meeting with my manager just to have a conversation about, the things that I found and discuss how I think the bias is negatively affecting the model or what potential implications it could have, so that we could ultimately come up with a solution on how to address that bias and move forward with a better, improved model. And then question 5, explain the difference between regression and classification models and predictive analysis. When would you use one of these models over the other? So regression and classification models are both used to predict outcomes, but they go about it in different ways. So a regression model predicts a continuous numerical value. So that's something you could use like in the financial sector if you want to predict future stock prices. A regression model would be a good model to use. And then a classification model predicts a categorical outcome between 0 and 1. So it could be used for like true-false scenarios. So it could predict things like, will an email be spam or will it not be spam? Yeah, those are my answers. So thank you for listening.